Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Rod McCall.
What's up, everybody? I'm Bryce Runge.
And today we're going to talk about something that I think kind of influences us all, and that is why we don't try. So I saw a sign at a friend's house a few weeks ago, and it said, "What would we do if we could not fail?" And it really got me thinking about why do I hold back? Why am I afraid to try something new, do something new? And I realized, that's kind of been a part of my life almost from the very beginning. Afraid to talk to people. When I was in middle school and high school, I was afraid to talk to girls. Why?
Yeah.
So I think as I got older, why didn't, try this, try that. I find that are we stuck in park so many times with our lives because we're afraid to try?
Right. I guess I was different. With growing up, I was pretty fearless. I think as a kid, you're fearless.
Okay.
You start to wake up and be like, oh, I could get hurt doing this. Well, that didn't ever register with me. So being involved in the extreme sports,
Okay.
I was always willing to go the distance, and just go for it, right? So I wasn't afraid of much. With dating, there was a little bit of fear involved with that, but I wasn't really afraid of much. I was willing to just go for it, risk it. But you asked that question, what would you do if you couldn't fail? Or why are people stuck in park? And I've experienced that state of paralyzation.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to do this because my past will always remind me of something.
Meaning what?
Just those negative disappointments, if you will. Well, I don't want to do this because I got hurt this way. I don't want to feel this again.
Okay.
I don't want to go that route because I already did something similar or whatever, right? And it made me feeling really bad. So disappointments, right?
Okay.
I feel reoccurring disappointments are what enable people to get stuck in park.
Because, I can see that because, I think about our life and, I'm pushing 52 and I think about, dissatisfaction, dissatisfaction with my life, with my job. Well, not so much with my job, but, all the things that we could be dissatisfied with.
Right.
My ex-wife was obviously dissatisfied with our relationship. It wasn't the way she intended or imagined it would be. I didn't either for that matter, but I was stuck.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how to make it better. I wasn't sure I wasn't sure I really wanted to go the divorce route.
Mm-hmm.
But, in talking with a lot of different people, they respond to being stuck in so many different ways. And there's, and it's kind of like, well, why are you stuck?
Right.
How did you get there?
Right.
And, I think back to, and again, I love working with high school kids.
Right.
Because I see a lot of their world and I remember a lot of what it was like to be, a high school junior, a high school senior.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about what did I think my life would look like? And I asked them, what do you think your life will be like?
Yeah.
And I said, think about this. I said, in 10 years from now, I said, how old are you going to be? And most of them going to be 27, 28. Yeah. I said, within 10 years, almost every single one of you is going to be married. And I said, I bet you over half of you have a kid.
Yeah.
And they're going, oh my gosh, no. And I'm going, well, okay, look at your parents. When did your parents get married?
Right.
When did they first start having kids? At what age? So thinking about, the future, when we're high school, early college, whatever it might be, I sometimes wonder, the future is so vague.
Right.
I worked with a guy at Walmart Pharmacy. He was the pharmacist when I was going to college, and he said that at 15 he knew exactly what he wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the classes in high school, he goes off to college, and then becomes a pharmacist. And I'm going, holy crap. I mean, this guy starts working as a pharmacist in his mid-20s.
Right.
And here I was in my mid-20s, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so I think about now, looking backwards in time, how has my life changed? How has my life turned out from what I thought it would be when I was a high school senior?
Right. I find it very interesting when I have a conversation with my students about that very thing. Because, when I was in high school and then after, it was like, what am I going to do? I have no idea, right? But we'll go through, different questions or lessons, if you will. And I remember a kid, he had this all mapped out, what his life was going to look like. And there was some chuckles and, some kids decided to laugh at him and like, that's stupid. And I had to pause them and stop them from what they were saying. And I'm thinking to myself, this kid's smart. It's not going to go exactly as you plan, but he is living on the design side of life. Whereas I could say I was on the default side.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how I used to live. Now, more so it's on the design. I know I'm fully aware of that things aren't always going to work out according to my plans. Okay. I absolutely 100% know that. But I had to applaud that kid, and I affirmed him right then. I said, that's called living by design. It's not going to work out exactly the details, but man, I applaud you for that.
I've said to kids in, the classroom how much I am impressed by people that can do just that, because that was never me.
Right.
Only in the last few years do I feel like I've taken control of my life.
Right.
I mean, I've gone back to college. I'm working on a master's degree. I'm going to be changing careers, moving from 100% teaching to getting into professional counseling. We're doing the podcast, crying out loud. I mean, a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, somebody said, hey, McCall, you want to do a podcast? I said, what's a podcast?
Right.
I had no idea. So, but over the last few years, like I said, I feel like I've taken this question, and that's why it kind of saying to me, I'm trying things.
Right.
Because if you live in fear, you wind up, as you said, living life by default, letting life dictate to you. And how does that affect your level of happiness?
Right.
And if you're not real happy with your life, how does that then affect how you relate to other people, whether at work, at home? I just keep trying to, think about why, for the longest part of my life, why was I afraid? What was I afraid of? And, when you commented earlier about, well, I was afraid of, been there, done that, don't want to do it again.
Right.
I will say that when I first started, I got divorced and went through that living hell. I said, be a cold day in hell before I get remarried. I ain't going through that again.
Yeah. Look at us both.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I did take a few risks. You've taken some risks, and it's been kind of nice, but maybe that your statement of, well, I don't want to get burned again.
Right.
I mean, I think about, I keep saying, try something new.
Yeah.
So when I go,
like go on a bike ride.
Yeah, go on a bike ride, but let's stick to concrete. Smart Alec. But I keep thinking, okay, let's go out to dinner. All right. Last year I say, hey, let's go try this restaurant.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what if I don't like it? Or you go and you're going, okay, we've gone to this restaurant so many times, and this is our favorite place to go, and I always get the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you try something new? And I'm kind of my holdback is, well, what if I try it and I don't like it?
Right.
Then I'm out both money and I'm still hungry.
Right.
But I find that too many times, you mentioned living life on default. I sometimes wonder if I have a default setting of stick with what you know.
Right. I think that may be called autopilot, maybe.
Well, maybe.
I don't know. I heard this a long time ago, and which I think helped propel me into, I just don't care. I'm going for it. It's not that I don't care. I wasn't mindful of certain things. I don't care what fear is telling me. I'm going for it. I'm going to push past that. I think that's a mindset thing.
Okay.
And what I heard was, I don't remember who I heard it from, but it was, and I had it taped on my computer when I was at the high school when we first met.
Okay.
It was on, stop worrying about what could possibly go wrong and start being optimistic about everything that could go right.
Okay.
And so I started applying that, because if I were to adhere to the former of that, right, worry about the things that are going to go wrong, I'm never going to do anything. I'm not going to get out of this hole, if you will.
Okay.
And then I'm not going to be able to achieve or reach my dreams or my goals. I'm going to start believing in those things. I'm going to start seeing myself in the things that I want to be doing in the future. But yeah, I would go back to the remarrying and all that. I wasn't no way. Are you kidding me? And now it's are you going to have kids? No, I'm not. No, I'm done. Braddock's is it. Well, I think you know the story.
Yes.
But again, it was just something you know what, I'm going to go for it.
That kind of reminds me, there is a storage facility by the house, and they always got these really unique sayings. And not too long ago, there was a saying that says, you will fail 100% of the time of the things you never try.
Right.
And that's why that statement, along with what could you do if you could not fail?
Right.
And again, one of the nice things for me over these last, 10 years since the divorce kind of came to a screeching halt, I've been more open to trying new things because I was so afraid.
Right.
I was afraid to talk to girls. I was afraid to explore new opportunities, to try, because, well, what if I fail?
Right.
And I was more afraid of failing than I was of trying. And, I wish I had a statement like what you had on the computer that says focus on what could be, not what could not be.
Right.
Because, I think that really hurt me as I was much younger. And I see that in a lot of the kids that I teach is, they're afraid to try. Well, they're going to stick with what they know, and they're very reluctant or hesitant to try something new. Mm-hmm. I've gotten to the point where, I'm willing to try new traditions.
Right.
Here a few years ago, my sisters and I all decided that Thanksgiving would be held at Mom and Dad's.
Yeah.
And we would go out to their farm, and that would be the one holiday that we would all spend with the folks. And that's been a new family tradition that we have worked really hard to maintain. And I'm glad we do, because that is a neat family tradition. Right. That we have. We have a big bonfire, and Friday after Thanksgiving, and it's just a lot of enjoyment.
Right.
So it fits back to, well, try something new and see what happens. Overcoming that fear might bring more happiness into your life.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole the whole fear thing and all the negativity, that could just grow and grow and grow. I said this a long time ago. I think I wrote something, and it might have been in one of my wake up calls, and I think it was, what are you full of? And you responded, obviously in some form of rodism. But I have learned that whatever you pay attention to tends to grow the most.
Okay.
Like on the inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, like what motivated me is what was growing on the inside, and it wasn't all the negativity stuff, right? It was this is what I'm going to go for. Does that make sense?
So if I hear you right, you're saying that if fear and anxiety and despair is what's inside of us, then that's what will grow the most because we focus on that the most.
That's our center of attention. That's our focus.
You know, there was a movie. I forget the name of the movie, but they were talking about the white wolf and the dark wolf.
Right.
And they were talking about, what are you going to feed more? You going to feed the white or the light wolf, or are you going to feed the dark wolf?
Right.
Meaning, again, your emotions. And that sounds something similar to what you're saying, that
yeah.
if we focus on the negatives, then the negatives are what are going to be present in our thoughts, in our words, and in our actions.
Right.
Am I wrong on that? Or
no. And I think the story was with an Indian chief and his grandson or something like that. Hey, there's two wolves and they're fighting. One's good, one's bad. Who's going to win? And the chief says the one that you feed more.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. I'm not as good a storyteller as I should be.
Oh, well, it's all right. I'll fill in those gaps for you. But again, what you feed the most will grow, right? Or what you feed the most in this story is going to win. But again, I had to design that, if you will. I didn't want to live on the default side anymore. I wanted to live on the design side. And this is where I want to grow.
So you started taking risks again.
So I started taking risks again. That was where my whole the master's degree in educational leadership came in. Or back up to that was, finishing my degree.
Okay.
Right, which took a lot. Or just even sometimes traveling by myself. Or just, as weird as that may sound, but I don't know, going different places by yourself. I'm going to go see the world. I'm not going to be held back anymore. I'm not going to be stuck in park because I've seen what it does. I've been there, and I'm trying to come out of this. Like, you work so hard and you start to level out. I think you level out in your relationships, your marriages, and then that's where you start to see issues because you've leveled out. You think everything's okay. Well, we're just going to settle. We're going to settle right here. And that's, in my opinion, I don't think that's okay.
Is it because settling is easy?
Settling is way easy.
I've shared with my students many times, that which is easy isn't always right.
Right.
And that which is right isn't always easy.
That's right.
And it's, I have to remind myself because I'm really good. You're right. I got rodisms out the wazoo.
Oh, yeah.
But when I actually start applying those very same beliefs to my own life, I find that life is happier as a consequence. My relationships with friends and family, getting remarried again, it is tough, and because I think sometimes I go back to that default setting of let's just sit, let's stay put, let's keep let's not rock the boat so much.
Right.
But sometimes when I've rocked the boat, whether it's my personal boat, my professional boat, I found that actually some positive things have happened.
Right.
And, no risk, no reward. And so I guess for me, it has been a journey.
Right.
And it has been those failed opportunities that have kind of propelled me to try learning new things.
Right.
I mean, again, I take a look at me 12 years ago pre-divorce,
Right.
and I look at me today, now 10 years post-divorce.
Right.
And I have done things that I would have never thought I would have done.
Right.
I mean, I'd always talked about going back to college, getting my master's degree. And I toyed around with different things, getting one in political science, or something else, maybe education, leadership, something like that. But here, 2 years ago, I took the plunge and I started working on my master's in professional counseling.
Yeah.
And it has changed a lot,
Right.
about how I kind of see things.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I distinctly remember going to church in the evening. Were you there? I can't remember. With Les Brown?
no, I was not.
Okay. I love listening to Les Brown. He was one of the number one motivational speakers, and his story is extremely impactful. But I remember him saying something that I felt like he was pointing his finger right at me. I think a lot of people do when they're sitting in the audience, or the pastor or the speaker's, talking. Or, oh my gosh, how did he know? That was exactly me. But he had mentioned a couple things. One was that, there's someone in here that should be on this stage speaking. And that night, his words, that's what empowered me to I need to do, that's what I want to be doing. So that, I think, was one of the driving forces behind me, or propelling me to go and do that more. And so I'm continuing to do that, and I'm growing in that arena. But something more impactful was about, he brought up the graveyards being the richest places in the world. I'm like, and he paused, get people to think about, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And I've mentioned this in my classroom too. A lot of kids, the graveyard's the richest place in the world. What are you talking about? Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of people that have been buried, not with their money or material things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with dreams, unachieved dreams, or unwritten books, or businesses that never got started, or marriages or relationships that never took root because people were stuck in park.
Okay.
And I know it might not make sense to a lot of people, but if you could sit back and be like, well, money isn't, we've talked about this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important, but it's not the most important thing.
Money can't buy happiness.
Right.
As the Beatles said, can't buy me love.
Right.
It does make life a little easier in some cases, but take a look at the filthy rich. Bill Gates didn't keep him from getting divorced. Jeff Bezos didn't keep him from getting divorced.
Right.
So
we could talk about that and I hear this all the time. I went to a dinner with Suzanne a little over a year ago. Well, probably a little more over a year ago because of COVID and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's in corporate America, and she works for a software company, and we're at dinner, and this guy retired, and it's like I hear this all the time. I made a ton of money. I'm sitting there. Yeah, I'm sitting next to a millionaire right now, and it's like the same words. I wish I would have done more of this and not chase all this money. I'm like, we hear this all the time, yet it's a repeat. It's a repeat, and I get it. I get it, but the point to the whole graveyard thing was what I said. There's so many people who put their dreams up on a shelf, and they've just collected dust, or whatever, and it never comes to fruition because of that fear of failing, or that bitterness, or that negativity or anger that has restrained them from achieving, right? Or the past So I don't know. I use that quite a bit. Maybe I need to change this story up. I don't know. To me, that's powerful because here's the deal. I've started, and my book is going to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to go to the graveyard with an unwritten book. That was a goal that I had. I didn't want anything to come in my way to prevent me from doing that, or whatever.
No, and yes, you're saying some of the same things. I have started living for the moment instead of living for the dollar.
Right.
And in trying something new, after I went through my divorce, a lot of people said, well, Rod, you need to write a book. Rod, you need to write a book. And I'm going, write a book? What the heck do I know about writing a book?
Right.
And for the longest time, I just sat on that idea. And then it came to me, why not?
Right.
Why not try? And so through a few series of phone calls and connections, I did. And I started writing what became For the Love of Eric. And it was published, 5 years ago, 6 years ago already.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, I have been lucky enough to travel to a multitude of cities, present at various conferences as a result of writing that book, but more importantly, people reading it and saying how impactful my sharing my experiences with divorce with them, how it, impacted them, made a huge improvement to their lives. And I mean, I'm still selling several books a month.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything really to promote it or push it, but it is, kind of like you, in your book, which will be published here soon. The idea of we've got experiences that we have lived through. Mm-hmm. And the more I talk to different individuals, the more I realize what I have gone through is actually more common than I wish.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice being able to, people can relate. So many, I'm going to write a book one day. I'm going to write a book one day. It's actually a more complicated process than, than I think some folks thought. But, that is something that I tried.
Right.
And it was a success. And it has been a way for many doors to open that I would have never thought possible. And again, it was because I took a small risk.
Right.
I got out of park and I tried something new.
Right.
So based on my experiences, I'm really excited for you and your book and what, doors or opportunities that will present itself as a consequence.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully millions. When I started writing, at first I had that inner critic, that inner voice trying to get me not to write because I knew that it would, or I believed it would encourage and help people. And so that was 4 years ago and I had been doing the wake up call ever since.
Yeah.
And so, but I was like, you know what? Screw it. So what if someone doesn't like it? Or if so what if someone says unsubscribe? Right? Yeah, I know that someone, at least one person, is going to benefit from the message. And that's why I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And now, like you've said, it's a collection of my experiences that has turned into what I hope, turned into a book, what I hope will reach many, many lives.
It's like, why do we teach? And we can focus on...
Sometimes I ask myself that question.
Well, yeah, me too, especially over the last couple of years. But it's kind of, we focus on the ones that we can help.
Right.
And I guess I'm getting off on a tangent here. I apologize. But, it's kind of, we're trying something new. And to reach a different, reach the audience, reach the students, whatever it might be. Because, in our field of education, you look around, or I do anyway, I look at my coworkers and I'm going, okay, who are the good teachers that I would like to emulate? And who are the teachers that I don't want to emulate? Right. And it's those that are constantly coming up with newer, interesting ways to teach the material so that the kids can go, oh, this is really actually pretty interesting.
Right.
Because I want them to like as much as I like whatever it is we're talking about. Or at least some, like get closer to what I like.
Right.
Because I guess you ain't going to find too many political science nerds like me in high school. But we're experimenting, trying.
Right.
Because, I keep saying, if I ever get to the point where I'm at park in my teaching,
mm-hmm.
I need to change my career.
Right.
And it's trying something new.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try. And in fact, I think the next new thing I'm going to try and learn how to build a website.
There you go, dude. So
stay tuned.
Oh, yeah. We'll put the information out there when he gets it done. We're going to hold him accountable to that. You said that a little bit ago, why I started this or why I started that, which got me on this topic. That's the key ingredient, the why. And I think people level out or settle and then see a decline just because they forgot why. Like
okay.
Alex, when I went to Hawaii to play football,
yeah,
before I even left to go on my island adventure, I forgot why. I think that really played into the fact that I didn't make the NFL. I forgot why. I forgot why I started working out. I forgot why, it was my goal to go to Division I and then to the NFL. I completely forgot why. And I know I joked about, I don't know, why am I teaching? Or why did I get... I think a lot of people can get there real easily because they forget why. And I think the why is that key ingredient.
The why is the drive?
The why is the drive. We receive more in life of what we don't want because we forget or never figure out why in the first place. I don't know.
Actually, that's not bad. Because whether it's at our job, in our marriage, in our relationships with others, if we forget why we're together, why we're married, why are we doing this job?
Yeah.
Then I think, that could easily be a breeding ground for anger, hostility, frustration, despair. And, in our jobs, it makes us be, those energy vampires, those dark clouds that nobody wants to be around because all we do is, moan, groan, gripe, bitch, and complain.
Right.
In a relationship, we might start looking for love in all the wrong places. So, no, I think I'm glad you said that because I'd never really considered the why.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily just... it's not all just about your career, like you said, it applies. Why did you get married?
Yeah. Why do you have kids?
Why do you have kids? Or why did you start that business? Or why are you a teacher? Or why are you a plumber? Or why? Right. I think that's
no, and I'm glad you said that.
If people can answer that, it'll bring them back. To that place of growth, that place of design.
Okay.
Right? It'll help them. I've leveled out, but now I'm going to start climbing again.
And if you can remember that if you can't fail, why not try it?
Right.
And so, are you saying then that it's never too late?
It's never too late.
Never too late to be happy? Never too late to try something that can bring happiness to your life?
It's never too late.
Fulfillment to your life?
Never too late.
Well, one of the things that I have discovered, is that when you do things, if you're negative, negativity spreads.
Yes.
But I've also noticed that when you are positive and happy, that also spreads. Because I think about, they're at work, they're at school, the people that I like to hang around with the most are the ones that are positive, the ones that are happy, the ones that always got a funny story or a good joke to tell. And I'm going, I want to be around you
Right.
because you make me happy. You help me remember my why versus you don't bring me down. You don't make me angry.
Right.
So I try with various levels of success, but I want to try and be that happy person.
Right.
And so, so I'm glad you said the why, because that might help me when I'm feeling frustrated or angry, because, in teaching there can be quite a few opportunities
Oh, yeah.
to challenge my why. I can turn that why into a positive, and allow me to keep trying new things.
Right.
Because I think that is, for me, I like to be happy.
Right.
And, that's why when you came to me with the idea of this podcast, it was kind of like, yeah, sure. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I think it would be a way for us to do stuff like this, share with other people, how we got out of park.
Right.
And maybe, live something of a happier life.
Right. I think for me, it has really through my writing, through my marriage with Suzanne, and just the crucibles that I've experienced in life have helped me get out of park. I had to finally get to a place where to say, hey, Bryce, the past, you don't live there anymore.
No.
It's where it belongs. Now, you could use those for building blocks for a better future, but dude, you don't live there anymore.
Your past doesn't define you. It shapes you.
Yeah.
I can go with that. Because, yeah, I think that if you live in the past, you can't see what you have in front of you.
Well, I mean, you're living life in your rear view. So, which kind of ties into the theme of being stuck in park, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Going back to something that I've had to work with when I've talked about I don't want to try this because I'm afraid to feel this way, or I'm afraid of I don't want to be hurt again or whatever. And I had to get to the point, and I heard this from a good friend of mine. No, it wasn't you. I do have more than one friend, by the way.
Well, good. I am proud of you.
He said he couldn't remember who quoted it, and I can't either. Maybe one of our listeners could help us. It was only a fool trips on what's behind him.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm like, it was like, bam, bam, slap both sides of my cheeks, right? I'm like, I don't have to. Man, that was so powerful. Thank you for that. And then we talked a little bit, and then we hung up. Man, have I been tripping over the past?
I think
it has
it's so
prevented me from trying.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be that anchor to hold us down.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have the courage to try to cut that anchor, I think we can make it so that we can have more happiness in our life. And I think a happier life makes us a happier person to be around. We enjoy being around ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're going to wrap up today's episode. We hope that you grabbed a hold of some of the insight we were trying to provide today and apply it to your life, and so that'll help you to just go for it.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.